know the full state of the meta from this one series, and maybe SKT just wants to try some stuff. Remember Faker, famous for banning Garen Galio Gangplank back when you had 3 bans. He was all about trying out some things, and this is the series to try things out on. Notice they will ban Braum, so that means that a lot is left open, including the Jace, the Ryze, many picks that could be first picked in future series, and maybe Faker just plays his 10th game on Lissandra. He's currently 8-1.
Yep, they could definitely pick up the Lissandra here if they want to. There's a lot of different options. I think Ryze races in priority, but if you're going to pick it alongside Lissandra, it loses a little bit of value there. They could definitely grab both of them on this round if they would like to.
Do you show new stuff against Jin Air, or do you just play the stuff we already know about? For example, Lissandra is their bread and butter champion that Faker plays every game. He was actually remarkably frank in his interview last time out and just said, yeah, I find it boring, really but I'm really good at it, and we win. So, you know, he's probably playing Lissandra again. Small chance that Khan is going there, but against Jace, it sounds really painful. So, yeah, most likely going to be
Do they just pick Lissandra Urgot and play the mind games? This is SKT, remember?
I would love to see some Urgot jungle. I've been playing with it. I know Broxah and other junglers have been playing it. It's a very specific jungler because you think of Swords Urgot, and you think, oh, a tanky champion that does a lot of damage. Let's go for it. But it's actually a lot more on the damage side and way less on the tanky side. So I think kind of thinking of it as an AD Elise is the right way to go, and that means it's going to be a bit more situational. So no Urgot lock-ins, no Urgot played in Challenger's career yet either.
Yeah.
So I think we will see it this week, but not necessarily going to be in match number 1. And speaking of Elises, here's the actual Elise on the side of Jin Air. Now, Chongo's not playing, so the chances of Zed go down, but a champion that famously does bring up the chances of double AD solo lane.
Yeah, you can have the Jace and something like Yasuo if Grace would like to. Of course, it does go down in priority given the fact that Elise doesn't come with a pre-prepared knockup. See what SKT wants to do with their final pickup here as the Lucian does come in for root. Pretty understandable 80 carry pickup, but not necessarily following through with the new and exciting changes here of 9.6. Haven't seen the Xayah being peaked at just yet. But of course, Lucian is still strong. And there's the lock-in of the Vladimir. Could be going into Teddy's hands, could be heading up towards the top side of the map as the Vladimir into Jace matchup. Is Vlad taking a lot of pain, but you still have that late game?
I do like that you, in this particular case, make a non-spurious observation. Lucian sometimes crowds out a lot of 80 carries, and we're in a meta where people are happy to throw Vayne, etc. into it. But having a flex pick that has very frequently gone into Lucian, in this case, could actually be a realistic bot lane choice. So I think you spell out something that could happen here. My first thought is we're going to probably just see an 80 carry, and that we know our 2 solo lanes, but it's still another headache for Jin Air to consider on a patch where there's a lot of headaches, Atlas.
Yeah, exactly right. And also, what is the favorite lane of Vladimir? It's Shen. Shen got a little bit of a buff on this patch as well. And what was Marta favorite though, Atlas? Marta was known for Tahm Kench and Shen when he was playing on KT, all right? So there are more road signs that don't give me that look. Don't give me that look, Pop Smithy.
Vlad Shen sucks to duo lane, by the way, but
it does.
But Sandbox have created contagion that a lot of teams
really
support.
They just like picking it, man, and it keeps winning. All right, Sion's going to be banned. The Draven is going to be taken away from Teddy. Root just doesn't want to be Draven on the bottom side of the map. You can understand that one, as Thresh is going to hit the dust as well, so not going to have the wife steal bottom lane for Jin Air to have some extra power. And in fact, the Lucian's ran out of his best friends on the bottom side, with the Braum and the Thresh both being banned.
Galio also gone. Rakan is pretty high now in terms of supports that's available.
Yeah. And
from there, there's a lot of range supports being played around the world and in Challenger's Korea, so I think the Karma meta can come back as well.
That's why the Rakan is going to be banned here. I think that Jin Air realized that they were picking themselves into a bit of a hole.
Well, you think about what Jin Air have, and it's some pretty good siege with Jace in some early games, so you think timings are there, and you think quite a brittle backline. So backline access from Rakan is something that SKT is likely to be opting into with the final pick on the red side. Get the confirmation that it will be most likely Khan on Vladimir and Lissandra in the mid lane. So maybe they'll find an engaged support anyway. Wouldn't it be amusing to see Orin come back, or Nautilus that was buffed on this match? Both those champions changed, and maybe those are the best engaged supports available. With all the changes that come through, Jin Air won't have the ability to know anything before they get to see that support pick. They need to finish out their solo lanes, and this would be Grace jumping on Jace, most likely.
Could be. could also be the decided pick against the Vladimir. I know a lot of Korean top laners do like to pick up the Aatrox into the Vlad. They like that matchup. Grievous Wounds is going to be there without. The Execution is calling that they will be building anyway, most likely. Alistair to be picked up by Kellen, probably one of the last remaining supports here that you'd want to go towards as far as the higher tier, because there's been 4 bans already. 5 with the Galio being there as well.
I'm feeling the Ornn or the Nautilus.
I think Nautilus has to come in, doesn't it?
It used to be just a pick into Thresh because of how the hook mechanics were. But actually, are we seeing a very creative support choice here? We're not. It's just going to be the Morgana. We haven't seen reworked Morgana.
And much higher tier.
And yes, it does make sense. The Morgana actually, it's not really been a pick in Korea, been much more of a favorite in other regions.
That being said, Joker just had a pop-off performance on the Morgana in the end of last week.
Now, Joker is a Morgana one-trick of repute from years past, but cool to see it here. Again, it makes sense against an engaged support like Alistair. I don't think that was their original plan, but the Alistair pickup, Morgana, answer in the duo lane. It also means that Clid will be able to play around other lanes. He can either baby the Vladimir or get some ganks going in mid lane and be pretty self-sufficient when it comes to bot lane plays.
And we can see the confirmation will be the Jace on the top side of the map, so you're exactly right, Grace will be heading towards the mid lane. Unless they do some funny shenanigans and just switch their players into different lanes, we'll have to see exactly how this one is going to go. But I like Jin Air's lanes so far, fair bit of power, and we'll see how Jace is going to fare now that we do have the base numbers nerf. It's not a base damages, it's base everything. Pretty much for Jace has been hit, just to tone him down a little bit in the early stages of the game. We'll see how it works out here for Linderung.
I thought maybe Jace mid lane, but Grace going to be on the Aatrox. I say this because I feel like Aatrox mid lane was looking very ordinary.
Oh yeah,
when we saw it last week.
Crushed on that champion.
It feels like it's too easy to take advantage of, and Lissandra, of course, one of the most reliable gank assisters. So we'll see if the matchup can go a little bit better this time for Grace. Faker is on Lissandra, so sadly, guys, we can't show you the new stuff. In fact, we promised a whole lot of new, and you know what? Papa keeps his promises. We've got a long week ahead of us, but game number 1,
you got to ease him into it, Papa Smith. You got to ease him into it.
Everyone gets a mulligan, and we'll call game 1 a mulligan.
Yeah, game 1. We're still going to be checking out a few things here because the Ezreal change is live, so we'll see how that goes in the hands of Teddy here in game number 1. Now, for all you nitpickers out there, I know that it's not an Ezreal change, it's a tier change that only affects Ezreal as far as the current meta is concerned. So I'm calling the tier change an Ezreal change.
I believe only 2 champions have ever done double tier stacking in competitive play. It was, of course, Ezreal most recently. The other one I remember, if you remember this, Atlas, way back when, was
the Miramana Rise.
Miramana Rise had the great application on single target spells. So
that was before the Miramana.
This is many years ago. I think 2014, I want to say. That was the last time I can remember a double tier champion in pro play before the Ezreal time. So yes, I agree. It is an Ezreal only change. And I think it's a welcome power down. They decided not to give him direct nerfs. As Minikim and the analyst are talking about, there's many different disagreements on how you can proceed. You can just ignore double tier, go back to the Blade of Ruin King build.
I think Teddy was actually the one that often ignored it in a lot of his games in general.
He delayed it, I think, more than he ignored it. I think he would very often go Blade and then just work into the tier if the game was extending. If the game is still going to extend, the replacement that actually doesn't shift the power that much is Luden's. Luden's can actually fit the spot and get 20% CDR and build pretty similarly. It takes the bad end of a trade at level 1, but I'm sure things will stabilize. But again, no one really is 100% clear. We see more Malmortius built a little bit more than it was previously. We see a lot of double AP in games, this time on the side of SKT. So we'll wait and see what Teddy's interpretation is. He's coming for a level 2 gank on Elise. You almost never see this.
Yeah, exactly. Repel's going to be used. Can he actually find the Cocoon? The red buff is ticking. Clid in great position, but Faker flashes a little bit early. Not going to be able to get any counter gank working here on the side of SKT.
One of the reasons it took so long for Elise to come back into the meta was the free level 3 that used to exist became a free level 2, and Elise's level 2 is way weaker. But after taking the bad level 1 trade, Faker realized he was too far up the map and actually had to flash to a level 2 Elise, which is a relatively large win for jungle Elise.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's going to move up towards her top side, takes a Rift Scuttler, and will also be able to gobble up the blue buff as well. This is the Cloth 5 start that we've seen a few times here for Vladimir's on the top side of the map. Khan likes Cloth 5 a little bit more than others as well. A bit of an OG shout-out. I like it.
I was going to say, brings a tear to your eye, because we had a time when...
Only one.
There'd be 3 to 4 champions a game taking Cloth 5 in different roles. Remember when Graves 80 carry was super overpowered in the 2v2, so 80 carries had to start Cloth 5 just to get through the lane. We've had many different metas, and Doran's items were rebuffed over time to give you Doran's shield becoming a viable option in a lot of hard lanes. But yeah, it is definitely an OG build. It's to get you through the early game, and guess what Vlad likes to do? He likes to grin and bear it until you know that he's the one grinning around 35 minutes. So because of that, Khan just going to grin and bear it. We'll see if this also means that Clid just doesn't play around top lane, and like we mentioned, ignores bot, ignores top, and just camps mid.
Well, Faker is certainly someone that's going to need a little bit of help until that flash does come back off cooldown, because right now Grace is having a pretty good time here in this lane because Faker needs to respect the elite gank so much more. Back coming in here from Teddy, wants to get home as soon as possible and teleport back in theory, but he's going to stop it. Binding is going to land. We'll see whether the bait is actually going to be effective here, and it's not. We're not going to move too much further forward. It's okay, Faker, 200 health, moves back, has the aftershock, so has to use it. But he might need to teleport back relatively early and may not get the back timing that he wanted.
I wonder if you consider a super next level play there and try to deny the aftershock by flashing early. Because what happens is that when the W arms, you're in aftershock range. So you're in W range, Ring of Frost range, so the aftershock will always come. I just saw that interaction in my head and I was like, what if? But yes, able to get aftershock, therefore the solo kill potential was gone. However, Grace trading way better than the last time we saw the Aatrox mid lane here. We haven't seen Clid find a timing with Faker's flash down. Maybe he's not incentivized to go for any play and be afraid of a counter gank. And the end result is that Faker is being respectful, but not to any meaningful CS discrepancy in the 1v1.
That being said, I actually feel like getting a good back timing as the Aatrox in a lane versus the teleport Lissandra is a hugely good thing for the Aatrox lane. We saw Dove fall behind incredibly far purely because of that. In his particular matchup, don't think it was against Lissandra, but it was against a similar matchup. Right now, Jin are going to get some priority here in this bottom side of the map.
So C saw Faker, and he saw that a ward had been placed recently, but he doesn't know that Clid's behind him. He doesn't have that extra information because he saw Faker, so Clid is actually unscouted.
This is a secret agent Jarvan right now, as Root and Kellen are going to move into lane. Completely unbeknownst to them is Clid down here. Can he get the flag and drag? Will he use the flash? There he is, doesn't even need to as Kellen. He knows that he's dead, gets the aftershock. Oh, the last auto attack is going to come in from Martyr as now Faker. Swifty boots on, even though he hasn't purchased them yet, dodges the cocoon and keeps himself alive.
There's swift moves from Faker to stay alive, but man, was it fortunate. He tried to do the problem solving. They saw a ward was placed recently. They saw Faker there and they said, oh, it was just placed by Faker. But because the ward was actually about 6 to 7 seconds later in terms of how long ago it was placed, there was that off chance it was the jungler. We knew it was a confirmed jungler ward. And that means that completely unspotted is Clid. Alistair was very surprised to find a Prince behind him.
Yeah, he almost made the great escape. I mean, the flash was there, but unfortunately for him, Martyr had already queued up the auto attack, and he's not actually able to make it out. So, Kellen, a little bit robbed, but SKT with a fantastic gank on the bottom side of the map, and I love seeing this, just smart play out of this team. SKT, they don't necessarily need to try super hard in this particular matchup, but you can see how much respect they're paying to Jin as Kellen gets hit by the binding, and then what the heck is this Jarvan doing here?
And what beautiful Black Shield timing onto the Jarvan there, because of course the natural thing is when you see the EQ at your feet, you just pulverize and you're able to disengage and get a much safer flash, and you get Aftershock instantly. Remember that interaction. There was no time for Alistair to proc Aftershock because the Black Shield denies the ability to apply hard CC and thus get your extra armor and MR.
Yep, and if he had to use the Headbutt Pulve on one of the ranged champions, then he would have been in between 3 people and Aftershock wouldn't have mattered. So that's between a rock and a hard place, is about, I believe, how you describe that situation for Kellen. Smarter has brush control down here on the bottom side. We've got a Sheen picked up, but importantly for Jin Air fans, there's no tier yet completed for Teddy, so it doesn't get the dream back timing.
I'm just putting those 2 and 2 together of there really shouldn't have been a Jarvan behind me, and really I couldn't apply my Aftershock. Pretty tilting
you just feel
2 different
bad.
things there. That's a very feels bad man for Kellen. We'll see if he's able to shake it off. Trying to use the Lucian to get some lane punching going. He's just throwing a lot of positioning bot side, but here we go.
Yeah, that's true shot barrage.
Oh.
And EQ will just straight up kill the Elise, but they're not going to go too aggressive there, is Teddy. He had the flash available. I thought maybe he'd go for it, but Slid was topside. Playing respectfully here is SKT. Not against Linderung though, he dodges the EQ, but the Cataclysm comes in. Linderung boops him back, but has to use the flash. It's still a successful gank here and a lot of extra space for Khan.
And so big to buy a summoner ganking for a Vladimir lane, because predictably Vlad did nothing.
Yeah.
When it came to gank assist, didn't really see a kill in his future with the ultimates, didn't bother using it at level 1, but gets the summoner, so a big service done for his top laner. Does Clid do? See, he's going to use the time, though, to steal away the enemy blue.
Yep, and also they had priority in the mid lane, so this is a little bit of overflow from that early gank from C's, allowing Grace to have a little bit of a better time here in this laning phase. He's got himself a shield, and almost has a stopwatch online with a couple of long swords, but he's kept up in farm, and Faker has to make his way back with his Lost Chapter now purchased, and will once again lose some creeps underneath this turret. That's a turret plate already going down in favor of the Aatrox.
That definitely has gone better than expected from what we were presuming the matchup would look, especially after our last Aatrox got pummeled.
Oh yeah.
At the end of last week.
It just shows how the difference in jungler can change how a lot of these lanes are going to go. Of course, SKT aren't too worried about what happens here in this early game. They have about as much late game insurance as you like with the Vladimir, especially when it's against this double AD style composition that isn't hugely long range despite Jace having a lot of poke options. SKT should be pretty comfortable moving into front-to-back team fighting in the late.
And the moment we had Camille ripped away from the jungle pool, we haven't really had Elise versus Jarvan levels of pressure in terms of both sides opting into very strong ganking junglers come level 2 or level 3, respectively. So kind of nice to see swing matchups, because there's a lot of matchups that are much more 55-45 than, say, 70-30. So cool to see little changes like that.
Ooh, that's a nice little knock-up, but no more Umbral dashes means that Grace is unable to follow up with the second one. Liz finds C, so look at how much damage he's taking! Cocoon is gonna miss, and I don't think C's has too many ways out here. The repel, choose your death there, as Clid is gonna be able to pick up the kill, but not after dying. Grace has the world ender, but he should get taken down. The Soul Shackles is in.
Trying to wait it out.
Is looking for it, yeah, exactly right. Faker does find the ultimate. Oh no, he short arms! The E, but is still able to flash himself to safety.
Rude.
Teleport comes in from Khan, but Faker is going to go down. Aftershock or not, that is not enough, as the Hemoplague is going to do nothing to deter Jinair Green Wings. They grab a couple of kills in response to SKT.
SKT rotates first, but Jinair actually stick the landing way better than you might have imagined. The trade kill there didn't look on the cards onto Clid when the roam timing was there from Marta first. However, overall, it ends up being pretty even, all things considered. SKT not able to hit the ground running like you might first have imagined.
Yeah, exactly right. We're going to have a look at this one again, and you saw how much damage C's took, but Clid is also extremely squishy.
But remember how this starts. Morgana roams first, and Clid does the whole health bar of the enemy jungle before anything happens. Suddenly you're like, wait, Grace does a lot of damage. This is still outnumbered from the side of SKT. Kellen only gets there now. Of course, you can buy a lot of time if you're waiting out the world ender, like SKT were looking to do. Faker has to flash, doesn't get over with just the glacial path because of the CC that comes through. It takes Root's flash, but they do get that man.
Yeah. Well, nicely played by Jinair Green Wings, and they're going to follow it up with Shelly as well on the top side of the map. C's going to be able to solo that one down. They traded for the Cloud Drake, but it's a Cloud Drake at this particular point in the game. Not too worried about giving that one away, so Jinair trading up. Teddy's going to be able to get himself this turret plate though, and things still going very well for SKT bottom side of the map. And Tia's stacking up almost with the Manamune completed.
It's worth remembering, we feel like this game is kind of with Jinair at SKT's whims in the late game. If you consider what Vladimir has to deal with in terms of level 16 Vladimir, he's just going to mop up members of Jinair. There's no resistance really. There's only, what, kind of one ability that's going to reliably stop him in the headbutt, and that can easily be just pulled through. And yes, Aatrox and Elise can do things. You can boop away with Jace, but if you're in range from Jace, you're dying to AoE, so
yeah.
The Vladimir outscale is super large in the late game, and right now the gold is small lead to SKT, and every time Clid finds C's, he almost solo kills him.
Well, Clid's now just looking for a red buff. Not going to be able to get it, though, as the Cocoon is going to go slightly wide. Control Ward goes down. Jin Air are going to be able to mop that one up, and SKT get nothing for that little invade into the jungle.
We're looking to see Jin Air hit the ground running on multiple turret plates and lanes, and to some degree, they've got at least one in every lane, but they need to have a lead and hit the ground running pre-25 minutes. And right now, it feels like the map state is more influenced by the Jarvan than the Elise.
Yeah, and it's 4-1 as far as those turret plates are concerned. Grace trying to get cleared out of his river, but I don't think he's going to be too worried about that one. Crimson Rush is going to keep Khan pretty comfortable here on the top side of the map. Doing some pinging out, Linderung wanting some help, trying to grab the rest of these turret plates as 13 minutes has ticked up. C's still sticking with Shelly in hand. It's a lot of money that may go begging unless he can get up there, and it looks like he probably will.
Interesting that the decision is top lane. It's more about denying Vladimir than opening up the enemy. Khan, of course, has no interrupts.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad.
Can only do a bit of damage, but they want to end this Vladimir laning phase and make him online teamfight ready as late as possible. That means entire turret. Good focus down there means they get down that third plate, which means the last two will die to the charge. Teddy will eventually be able to answer on the bot side, but they're going for inner turret damage as well.
Yeah, exactly. Shelly's going to get a hell of a lot of damage here, and the power of Jace is a lot to do with being able to destroy turrets very early. So you can see that turret goes down very, very far.
And they're actually feeling strong enough to defend this turret as well. They understand that Lyssandra's picking up blue. You'll notice that Faker is spotted going for a blue transfer.
Yeah.
That means that two members are around blue. You can see the Vladimir, therefore, you don't need to give up the bot lane turret, so it doesn't even end up being the entire turret's worth of plates. The turret plating is now worn off, so a nice gold injection means 7 to 3 plates in the early game. That's why Jin Air stay competitive in game number 1.
Yep, fair bit of extra power being picked up here from Teddy because Mata also has the Ardent Sensor already completed. So Teddy will have a lot of on-hit damage. These Mystic Shots will be hurting as his Mirror Mana transformation is about to come in as well. It was a relatively late tier, so still might have a few hundred mana to go. But Iceborne Gauntlet, very, very close. Those two items that we talk about with the Ezreal are going to be there, and the side laners of Lysandra and Vladimir are going to be pretty comfortable as we move into this mid-game. It's where SKT want to stabilize.
But before that mid-game, before the true stabilization, the turret plates, 5 of which being around Linderung, allows him to have double Dirk for poke and also Executioner's Calling. So the Executioner's Calling is a snowball choice here. It means they don't have to only group. They can try to all in, but at this timing, Jarvan's going to get their thirst.
Yep, Emo Plague is going to come up. That's already a lot of damage down. He wants the Crimson Rush. The flash comes in from Khan, but doesn't get the Tides of Blood. Clid has his flash, though. The Cataclysm comes in and sees. Can't get there in time.
Flashing upwards for a Boots 1 jungler to get you there. Wasn't actually going to buy the sort of time that Linderung wanted, so that means important gold goes the way of SKT. You'll notice that the bounty system has been updated, so it's the same as a 450 gold bounty on the Jarvan, but it's only the bonus gold. It doesn't include the 300 from the kill.
Yeah, just going to be that 150, but it is exactly what you're used to as Faker throws out the claw, but doesn't take it, which is lucky. This season's here in this mid lane. Mata taking a lot of damage there, bottom side, as the Culling's just going to do it. That was the combo, and Teddy might be in trouble here as well. He flashes away, but it's not enough. Double kill comes in for Root, who's down to about 150 health, but it doesn't matter.
He can even kite up to his jungler as well. They cull the Morgana super quickly. That's why Morgana wasn't seen in the Lucian meta, because she offers nothing, right? Cullen just kills her and Black Shield doesn't provide anything. It is a stable 2v2 choice, but in the 2v2, Jin Air just get a massive lead.
Exactly. That's a 600 gold bounty now on top of Root, or 300 gold. Should we transition the language around it here as well? Should we say 300 gold bounty? What do you think? What's your idea?
I think the bounty is the bonus gold, 300 gold, and we have to retrain the viewers, but I think the gold bounty will remain the same.
All right, let's call the bounty 300 at this point in time. But that is a big one. That's the old 600s. We're going to see it again.
Mata just gets hold in because they had a lane war down and dies. Because guess what? You put your Black Shield down, you get cold because you've already been CC'd. Yep. And that just ends up being Teddy paying for the sins of his duo laner there. That's a really big 2v2 moment. And importantly, it's all the way back to Root and Kellen. They don't have Nova in the lineup anymore. They're going back to the duo that played a lot of time and split scrim time with Stitch and Nova back in the day. So shout out to Root and Kellen. It's a nice confidence boost to get the 2v2 kill.
Yeah, well, Mata and Teddy are still going to be pretty comfortable here, as Teddy does have that 2 items that he very much likes. Clid throws down his standard on top of Callan, but Callan's not going to be too worried. Next Cloud Drake is now available, and Jin Air look to be taking that one away. I don't know whether SKT are going to throw in too many chips into this particular pool, because it's the second Cloud Drake, so they're not too worried about it. Okay, we are only going to have Mountains available, so no Infernal Drakes this game around, but thankfully the Mountain Drake is going to be the next one. That might actually start up some fighting. This game, very, very close here at this stage. We joked about the 94-minute game, but...
I mean, thankfully Riot Games listened to my public whinging, I'll call it, and changed a lot of how the game works to
the scaling Barons and Elders do make it a bit of a problem.
It's almost impossible to go over 70 now, I feel like.
Yeah.
60-minute games can happen, but they're few and far between, and the 8.1 meta is in our rear view meta and then some. Right now, remember that Jin Air have a comp that spikes now, so SKT just need to make sure that in the next 7 minutes or so, they don't allow Jin Air a Baron by taking a poor team fight before their items are ready. But this dive, it's happened now.
Yep, that's a fantastic knock-up. The Cataclysm is going to come in there, and there is nothing that Linderung can do. A lot of money was on his back as well. It is the Jarvan that grabs that kill. Vladimir was bottom side of the map, but Faker's going to get an assist. That ain't a bad thing here for SKT.
It's extra gold around the Jarvan, which means his frontline damage build. Notice not Cinderhawk this game, but damage Jarvan.
Also going for G8 very early.
He's going to have it nice and early. That's a nice way to use your snowball lead, because you do damage and dive hard. Speaking of diving.
Yeah, big flash cocoon into a minion there from C's. Bad news bears, most likely, but Grace does still get a flash out of Faker. He's still walking, but he's walking quickly enough to get out of the way of the World Ender and the flash from the Atrium.
Now, we don't have a listen-in, but you would assume there was a very decisive shot call going on in that one. They were really feeling it. C's, unfortunately, you know, the cocoon getting blocked by the minions is a very simple mechanic, so I'm guessing he just saw something that wasn't there. End result is some summoners down, and the next time, potentially some turnarounds for SKT.
Trading flashes, though, as C's versus Faker isn't that bad, I guess. I mean, you'd pseudo take it. That being said, C's is going to be pretty easy to kill. For all of the high damage on the side of SKT, even can't probably pop the Spider Lady pretty quickly. I misread Grace's Umbral Dash for a flash, so not actually as much of a huge deal here. For Jin Air Green Wings, but not having the World Ender for the next little while might be a problem. And just slows down Jin Air, right, as they're looking for a gank on the bottom side, but I don't think Khan is going to bite off more than he can chew. Investment of 3 people on this outer turret that's still very healthy isn't going to get them anything.
You'll notice that Jin Air, after Jace has been slowed down, actually is a couple of CS behind, is really only strong where Root is. Root has his core items done and a snowball QSS with his 3 kills. So that is where Jin Air want to be fighting. A way to actually force SK Telecom to take a true 3v3, 4v4, 5v5 when Lucian is present. We're post 20 minutes. Feels like Jin Air right now. Their next move probably decides the game. If they can actually find a Baron or 5 kills, then maybe that's enough snowball gold, but Khan is stabilized. SKT just need to not make a colossal mistake and allow Jin Air to gleefully accept a mid-game lead.
Yeah, well, at the moment, they don't have one. SKT are still ahead. It's 1 turret each, and making up for the lack of turret plates that SKT picked up by getting those that extra kill, and also picking up some of the bounties that Jin Air had on offer to.
And we'll keep bringing this up, but a reminder, Lucian has effectively a 750 gold banner by 9.5 standards, and it's 600 gold onto the side of the Jarvan. The 300 remove, like in your solo queue games, is now reflected in pro games and career.
So when we say they have a bounty of this, then that's exactly what it means.
700 is the old 1,000.
Oh, the flash in! Teddy actually going to be able to get out of there with just the Arcane Shift as Root throws down his QSS. I think that was before the Soul Shackles actually went off, unless he Captain Jacked it.
I believe he Captain Jacked it. I'm going to give him full credit there. We'll get a replay maybe to confirm that. But he's feeling pretty good, Atlas. They're trying to push up. They're feeling like now's the time, but now multiple flashes are down. And Faker might be licking his lips and saying, I'm going to make someone pay for it.
Yep, Black Shield not available. As you can see, Faker, he claws out though, so not going to start any fights. Here are SKT. They understand, not necessarily superpowered now, but if this game keeps going the way it is, they'll be superpowered later.
I mean, the flashes look silly because no kills go down, but if you just wait it out and get outscaled, that's pretty silly too.
Yeah, it's like some of those Baron calls that we were talking about last week, right? Especially by Sandbox. They have to make a play like that in order to make their comp relevant. So I like this from Jin Air as Teddy barely gets scratched by the Cocoon.
I actually wonder, what's a longer range go shot these days? Lee Sin Q max range or Cocoon max range? It might be Lee Sin Q by about 100 units
I think it is after the buff a little while ago.
They're both very long, so I was just inspecting that from the side rush. They almost would hit Ezreal in the middle of the lane. Speaking of the middle of the lane.
Yeah, Mata has to flash. Has to get out of the way of those Infernal Chains, and he's so squishy with this Ardent Sensor build.
I'm going to say this.
Control.
Forcing Mata onto this far back on his champion pool, he looks pretty uncomfortable this game. So It does feel like Mata, with so many engaged supports taken down, does feel a little bit out of his comfort on Morgana. He's been caught too many times based on our usual high expectations.
Well, Faker actually spotted on a ward down here, so Jinna with full information. Claude takes him over. I don't know whether Jinna actually saw that one. But SKT now split in a 3-2. Back going to come in, but all of that information given down by the human ward that is Linderung. Face first into the Cocoon as Clid takes a volatile Spiderling, but otherwise isn't going to be too worried. Shock Blast lands onto Khan, but he's got a lot of ability to repair himself. Now SKT thinking about this red steal. Grace comes down, Clid just flags and drags his way in. Brute Force is going to be able to grab him that red buff. Jinna can't actually offer too much back as Teddy's sneaking in a lot of these Qs. That damage is going to add up as C's down to half health.
And this is a mostly neutral slight advantage SKT trade at a time when Jinna should be at their strongest. So we're still liking this for SKT. They're going to try and take the Mountain Drake and repel a mid lane push. Turret's pretty healthy, so they should be fine.
Yeah, it's actually a really great claw to come in there from Faker, because if Jinna had have made any aggressive plays towards the turret, then he would have had a fantastic opportunity for a 5-man Ring of Frost. So SKT use that, they grab themselves the Mountain Drake, and they're just slowly getting further and further ahead at the time in the game where they shouldn't be.
And this is where I believe Jinna's items never get relatively better compared to what 1,000 gold in SKT's items does for 1,000 gold in Jinna's items. They got double pen, a lot of members, a couple of black cleavers. They very much have a lot of physical damage and physical damage shred. A modicum of magic damage, but obviously C's doesn't have much going. So given flat pen and just how games work, they never get stronger than they are right now. It feels like every extra item on Vladimir especially is just going to burn a hole in the pockets of Jinna. So because of that, if they can't get something done now, and we're around that 25 magic number that we spoke about earlier in terms of game timers, SKT are probably fine to frustrate. Of course, it probably frustrates their fans who want to see them just roll over Jinna, but if they just hold strong for another 5 to 7 minutes, almost every scenario should be advantage SKT.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, I actually really like this from SKT though, so I want to reassure the fans that watching a game like this where SKT are showing so much discipline should actually make you happy for what SKT can accomplish in the future, especially if they are our representative going over to MSI. Maybe the power rankings for ESPN are correct.
But it's basically nameplates off, I agree, nameplates on, I disagree, right? That's why the thing is, yes, if it's an even matchup, because it's Jinna, you understand why people might give you pause. So we don't have any full thoughts about it, but it is something that it's worth ruminating on, because right now, SKT are mostly incentivized to wait out, so unfortunately, the lull state that we always talk about is largely upon us, because SKT aren't going to be over-eager at the 25-minute mark.
Yeah, we'll see whether we get that in game number 2. Faker going to throw out a cube, but doesn't actually find Grace with it, as they're just jockeying for position around this lane on the top side of the map. Teddy does get some free time here with this outer turret in the mid lane, and it looks like Jinna are actually not interested in fighting him. These Qs are starting to do a lot of damage, as the True Shot Barrage is going to be missed, but does clip them in waves, so SKT can continue shoving relentlessly into this turret.
But notice they're playing in an open lane, a long lane. Faker's on a very safe champion with flash up. They're very much choosing spots where they're not going to be collapsed on and forced to fight.
Wow, Root's in a whole lot of trouble here as he's by himself under the turret. Marta moves up, Kellen has to get over here. I believe that was a Hex Flash, but he's now got his flash on cooldown, definitely.
Remember your ARAM tier list, Lucian and Alistair down as his engage.
Oh no, that's just going to be the Cocoon right into the Black Shield as Faker wanting a re-engage does actually get down there. Steady just pops the Aatrox. Didn't even have time to use the World Ender as a Frozen Thrall. Stops any sort of engagement from Jinna. And our SKT just going to run to the Baron.
ARAM T-list confirmed. This is why they were just playing through the mid lane. Ezreal can poke out turrets, poke out health bars, and now they're just all in on the Baron. And unfortunately, Jinna, they might have just given this one up.
Yep, this is exactly what we were talking about before. Jinna weren't allowed to let the game get to this point. The Baron just gets shredded. Mountain Drake was in there, but SKT had no contest from Jinna whatsoever. And this game went from what you were talking about, very slow and steady for SKT, to just an explosion. One pick turns into a Baron, and now it just really looks like Jin Air don't have a way back in.
If you're a 10th place team, you have to pick your poison. Do you pick a late game scaling comp and lose in the early game, or do you try to get early game leads and then inevitably reach some spots where if you make a mistake, your window is closed? And it was the latter. In this particular game, C's has been trying to make things happen, but whether it's from small errors or, in this case, a good Black Shield timing, it's been a little bit too little, right? Unfortunately, Elise has got that single target cocoon. The Black Shield is on point. They're able to take down a member, they take down a Baron, and now, unfortunately, I think Jin Air, while they won't know it for sure until it's official, might already have to start recouping for game number 2, unless SKT makes some pretty seismic mistakes.
Yeah, let's just say that the Fat Lady is warming up her larynx at this particular point in time. She's ready to let go with that first ballad. As Jin Air are really struggling here as Faker, he's just moving some Baron minions into Grace.
Out of interest, when you think of the Fat Lady singing, is it a tenor kind of thing? A tenor song, you know, like
it's a soprano. I feel like it's a soprano. I think you need it like high pitched in order for it to be like, to get the full resonance of this is all over.
Now you've obviously got some big lungs on you. Can you do any of that kind of tenor, kind of like really deep singing?
I mean, I used to be better at it than I am now.
I'd love to hear it, Atlas. Maybe I'll script something out.
Yeah, maybe we can save that for your private content on maybe your stream instead of putting it on the LCK.
I'm all about my private content, Atlas.
I just realized that came out real badly. Okay, SKT going to move into a 1-1-3. As this game moves on, as Root looking for Khan. Actually doing a lot of damage here, but the pull is still available. And he's still going aggressive. He will move his way out. The Hemoplate gives Khan a whole bunch of his health bar back as Kellen and Root down to about half health. Teddy moves in, does land the Q, lands the second Clid, looking for the flag and drag. Just Cataclysms, gets the passive on the auto, takes down the cow very easily as now Grace is fighting Faker, and the World End is going to get weighted out, but it's a great knock-up, and Grace gets a solo kill.
It might unfortunately only have to be a small silver lining because their base is in tatters.
Yep, Faker wants to give something back here to Jin Air. At the very end, Khan goes into stasis as Linderung very far up. You can see Teddy just going so aggressively, though, as sees the Spiderlings trying to save him, and will do as he makes his way back to the fountain. 2 inhibitors have been taken down. SKT are missing their mid laner, who has teleport, but only after 25 seconds.
And Atlas's indirect nerf to Ezreal isn't working on Teddy's Ezreal. He's gone into the Blade of Ruin King. He's got a BS sword now. He's going to get safety rather than CDR.
Oh my goodness. He's
and
got
you know what?
Bloodthirster.
It means his Qs do more damage at this time.
Yeah, exactly right. It's real scary stuff. And it's sort of a pseudo buff. You're exactly right. To 30-minute Ezreal. 40-minute Ezreal? No. That's way worse. But 30-minute Ezreal? He's real scary.
Or if you think about it another way, the safety of knowing your Scalen's going to get there and your shield is gone, but the temptation to just do straight up more damage earlier is now there.
You have permanent Seraph Shield with a Bloodthirster, Papa Smithy. It's better.
Fair point.
Yeah, see? That's some play-by-play analysis for you. All right, SKT, the Baron is going to wear off, but the damage has been done. 7,000 gold is the lead now. Teddy parks himself on the top side of the map. That's the last remaining lane with an inhibitor turret in it. Inhibitor turret also there as well, so some more standing gold that SKT want to take. It's only a 2-kill lead if this squad just shows that they have just been running Jin Air around, picking up more farm than them, and creating a huge problem. It's a 20 CS advantage in the mid lane despite that solo kill going down. And even though Root is 3-0-0, it feels like Teddy is so far ahead of him.
And unfortunately, Jin Air, like we've said a couple of times, had one of those drafts that needed to be so far ahead. Didn't have it, and it hasn't even been Vladimir related, right? It was just Teddy popping off in some ARAM scenarios, and Jin Air not being able to actually get a lead. Free Baron into now 2 inhibitors down, and we're kind of waiting for SKT to dot their I's, cross their T's, and take us game number 2.
Yep, Caesar's looking for a flank, but he's going to be spotted on that control ward. Faker moves on in here as well. They just want to take him down because they know with Baron up, it's another minute and a half, actually. Getting a little bit ahead of myself here is Teddy. He's heading forward, but Black Shield is going to be available. Kellen maybe too far off as the True Shot Barrage doesn't hit for quite as much this stage of the game, but still feels like hell for Kellen. The ultimate has to be used, and that means that's a tool that's not going to be in their Grace. Has found Faker one more time. And yeah, Vladimir may have turned up to this series now as he goes into stasis under Nexus turrets. Of all things, is going to avoid all of that extra damage. Now the World Ender is going to come in. I'm sorry, Grace, you're not going to do it 2 times in a row against Faker as See your death, Miss Spider Lady, and Fake is going to be able to pick up the kill under C's. SKT should be able to take down some Nexus turrets and really put a dent in this series very early on against Jin Air. The flash from Faker. The kill's going to go down under Linderung as Grace tries to get back towards the fountain. It's not going to matter. Nexus is going to go down, and SKT dominant game 1.
Vladimir being the ultimate wedding crasher, waiting till the bouquet was thrown before he shows up.
Was he Vince Vaughn or was he Owen Wilson in this particular example?
I leave it to your interpretation, Atlas. SK Telecom T1, it wasn't a outstandingly aggressive performance. They understood that Jin Air had the power spikes. After a couple of mistakes, they resolved to just wait their time. Because it was Jin Air, their time was quite inevitable.
Yep.
It came around Teddy, who will almost certainly pick up the MVP in game number 1. The Bunny Ears are going to be rewarded with a victory in game number 1.
Happy birthday. It's her birthday. G-Sun just confirmed. That was what was written on those cards. We can't actually read it. If only Valdez was here. He can read it.
Well, because it was Jin Air, she was very likely to get her birthday present this time.
Yeah, if it was an SKT win that they wanted, then you would definitely got a present there. So you'd hope that she is one of their supporters. The Jin Air supporters not feeling too happy at this particular stage. However, they have been very loyal to this squad, and this is one of the last 2 times you may have an opportunity to see Jin Air Green Wings on an LCK stage, and that is so sad. For all of you fans out there, and I know there's a whole lot of you that have been watching the LCK for a very long time, Jin Air is almost synonymous with this league, and we might be missing them and potentially another big name if the challenger teams are going to continue looking as good as Dam1 and Sandbox are this year.
I'm not ready to give out my eulogy for Jin Air just yet.
I know, we need to prepare people though, because it's a big deal, man.
It is a real thing, because it is, at this point, almost expected that we will not be seeing them in summer. Hopefully, they can fight back for you LCK purists. I also want to give a very humble apology. I got everyone very excited about the champions we might see, and I couldn't deliver.
We saw Silas on the ban list. Look at that.
I'm just
He's
saying
right there.
That a lot of people, you know, their papa is someone that they hold to this high standard. They need him to be strong and to always be right. Do you remember the first time your papa was wrong? I know I do.
Yeah, it was
and because
very
of
early
that,
on in our friendship.
I misled everyone, and unfortunately, game number 1, it was a bit too sterile. It was a bit too standard. At some point, when Jin Air couldn't get a big lead, it kind of played itself. So fingers crossed, the crazy stuff comes out game number 2.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think Series 2 might be where we're looking to as well, because Gen.G versus Dam1, these are 2 teams that are a little bit more likely to bring out something slightly more crazy in order to get themselves an edge. Dam1 are already locked into 5th, so they may as well play, you know, some Sona Tarek there on the bottom side of the map that has been disgusting in solo queue that we've seen. Speaking of disgusting, of course, Teddy did so much mid-game damage. Got his 2-item power spike, got his 3-item, then his 4-item, and then was just completely immovable. And used that to propel them towards that very early Baron and a very swift victory. It felt like this game slowed down really, really hard and then took off almost instantly for SKT.
Well, let's see if game number 2 gives us the spicy picks we're hoping for, Atlas.
Yeah, exactly right. Jin Air Green Wings do have a chance to fight back here against SKT. Is it going to be more early game, or will it be SKT's turn to play aggressively? We'll have to find out after the break.